All right, welcome back, everybody. So today's just going to be I don't have my co-host today, so it's just going to be myself and guess we got another Jason on because I'm Jason as well. So we got two Jasons on today. So uh, Jason of the Gecko Effect. Jason, why don't you go ahead and kind of tell us your backstory and your herp origin story?
Yeah, so pretty much, if you can't tell from my accent now, I'm from down under. So grew up about an hour north of Sydney on the Central Coast. Probably similar to most people that grew up where I'm from. We were pretty lucky. We had the reptile park probably about 20 minutes from my house. So growing up as a kid, the reptile park up the Australian reptile park up the road. So a few trips up there. Wandering around, and I think that's pretty much where the fascination with reptiles began. I've still got a picture that my mum still, blames to this day because my mum's afraid of snakes. So you've got this big diamond python wrapped around my neck, and that's pretty much where it all started. But I didn't really start keeping reptiles until I was about 16. Because as most of you guys probably know over here, we've got that licensing system, and I didn't really know that you could keep them until I had a mate one day and he got a snake, went round to his place and, he's got this snake and I'm like, oh, where'd you get this from me? He told me, oh, you got to get licensed, this and that. And then, after that, it was conversations with mum asking if I can get one. It was no. Kept hassling her for a few months and then one day she finally said yes. And then pretty much, you know what it's like after that. One snake turns into two, then two turns into eight, then eight turns into 10. I had snakes under the bed. I had snakes hidden everywhere. Every time mum would come in, she's like, that's a new box. I'm like, no, it's definitely not a new box. She's like, no, it is. I'm like, no, it's definitely not. So, but yeah, it's pretty much just grown from then. And then over the years, I've kind of got in, got out again, got in, got out again. And then I just kind of landed on geckos. So, still got a couple of snakes here and there, but, geckos, and that's pretty much my main thing at the moment. So,
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, I checked out your page, man. Like, I guess the people from the U.S. they get really like every time they look at like someone's from Australia is like looking at their page and stuff. They all get super jealous because
yeah,
you guys, because I mean, well, for me, because I'm like I keep Stropharis and
yeah, yeah.
Oeodora and Nebulifera and all that stuff, right? So whenever I see like a dope looking like Ciliaris or something like crazy oranges and all kinds, I'm like, man, we can't even touch that stuff. We can't even get it. So I'm very jealous of you right now. I've been to Australia. I've been
Yep,
there a couple times. I've been to what was it, Darwin,
yep.
and I can't remember the other place. But like, cause I was in the Navy, so we would go
Yeah,
there
okay.
a couple times a year. So,
Yep.
uh, yeah, I do love going to Australia when we would go on our trips.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky. We're sport for choice with what we've got over here. But
Oh yeah,
in saying that, like you talk to most keepers, and there's something exotic that we'd like to keep,
yeah,
but we can't get our hands on over here. Like
yeah,
I'd love to keep Europlatus, but just we haven't allowed to keep it over here, unfortunately. So, which I mean,
yeah,
not unfortunately, but there's reasons why we can't. But look at the cane toad over here, but they're just another species I'd love to work with, but similar like set up to what I keep now. So that's probably part of the
yeah.
reason why I'd like to keep them. So
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I started dabbling into Europlatus. I got some Europlatus Sycorae, and I just got this week Europlatus Ebanawi.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, so I'm starting to dip into that stuff as we speak.
yeah. No,
But
I'd love
we're
to.
actually here to talk about Carphodactylus laevis, the chameleon gecko.
Yep.
Um, it's been one of those rising in popularity, especially over here, because
Yeah.
I know, like maybe in the last 5 6 years, I've been seeing them more and more. Uh, so definitely wanted to go ahead and get some information out there, and this is why we do this podcast, so we
Yeah.
can get the information to people, and especially no, is it so for Australia for where you're at, right? Are you allowed
Yep.
to keep them?
Yes, we are. So they're a native to Australia. They're from the top end up in Queensland.
Okay.
Um, where I'm from, we've got our license. So every single state in Australia has a different licensing structure. So basically, some states you can't keep them, some states you can, some states are on advanced permits, this and that. So where I'm from, they're actually on we've got a tiered system of license. You've got your basic license, which is for, your blue tongues, your carpet pythons, a couple of different things like all your basic easy, not so much easy stuff, but your basic stuff to keep. Then you go up to the advanced license, which is like your Boyd's Forest Dragons, your Chameleon Geckos. Some of the leaf tails are in that as well, which is ridiculous because they're pretty much the exact same as the others. And then you've got like your rough scale pythons on it as well. But so basically, when I first got into them, I had a mate. He had them, and he was looking to get rid of it. I was looking to get rid of some green tree pythons, and we just kind of did like a trade for some geckos for some green tree pythons. And that's how I got my first one. That was probably 10 years ago now, I think. But they're still super rare in Australia. There's probably more in the US, I reckon, than there would be in captivity in Australia that I know of. Like, don't get me wrong, there's probably people that, don't post too much on social media. So, but yeah, I know of probably 4 or 5 other keepers that have them in Australia. And we all kind of talk
wow.
and this and that. But don't get me wrong, there's a few people that had them years previous. I don't know if they still have them. They don't post too much anymore. But in the wild up in Queensland, apparently they're abundant. I've never actually been up there to herp where they're from. That's one of the main places I want to actually go and herp is up the top of Queensland there and try and photograph some. But from what I've heard, they're everywhere up there. But they're not so common in captivity. So, and I think part of that reason is probably because I dare say when they first came in, I think they were off I can't remember how I think there was like a government like did a raid and took them off someone that had them or something like that, and then gave them to someone or something like that. I'm not too sure. And then I think, someone ended up breeding them and then bringing them into captivity or something along those lines. But ever since then, people just seem to have the odd pair here and there and produce the odd, couple here and there, but they're just, still relatively rare. I don't think it's to do with being hard to keep them. I just think that there's just not enough numbers on the ground to get enough hatchies to produce to, get more people into more people's hands pretty much. But they're probably one of my favourite geckos, so I'd love to see more people with them. But there's just not many here. So
Yeah, I think if we had some more here, I would definitely get into them. But there's just not too many, so then
yeah,
you're not getting a whole lot of different blood in. And so that's one of my big things too. Is if I'm not really able to get fresh blood in, I'm
yeah,
not really trying to really dabble in it. Not dabble in it, but I'm not trying to go like really hard into acquiring more. So like I said,
yes,
I got Stropharis ciliaris, Stropharis eremitas. But I was like, I only have a few pairs of each, so I was like, not gonna go too hard just because a lot of even people are like, oh well, they're unrelated. I was like, nah, let's hold off because we really don't know if they're unrelated. So
yeah,
that's why I kind of started straying off to other things like I said, Euryplatus and Cerdodactylus. No, because I know I could get a lot of that stuff in wild caught if I need to
yeah,
add fresh blood to my lines.
yeah. Yeah, because
So
I got my original male off one of my mates, but then to try and track down a female, that took me, I think it was about 2 years. I'd been talking with another keeper up in Queensland, and she was producing them, but every time she'd produce them, they'd just, go straight away. So I was chatting to her for quite a while. And then one day she just messaged me, she said, yeah, I've got a female if you like it. And basically as soon as she said that, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And then, got all the permits
oh,
sorted, everything else. But they're still quite expensive for a gecko in Australia. And basically once I got that female down, I think she was about a year and a half old. So she got to about 2, and then I got my first clutches out of her and produced some babies out of that. And that's basically kicked off the addiction for those. And then I held a couple back, moved a couple on just to try and build it up a bit. But I had so I had a pair and a trio originally. And then silly me got out of the hobby, moved them on to some mates and that. So when I got back into it because I had kids, life was busy with work and that. And then got back into it, and it was super hard to find again. I ended up sold some to a mate, and he still had some, so I managed to get some back off him, and then another mate that I'd talked to, and then slowly over the last probably 2 years, I've just started building up the collection of them again, just so I can have some numbers and get some get some more numbers out there. So
Nice. All right. So with them, so what is their natural habitat kind of look? What does it look like? And then what are we like as far as creating a habitat in our enclosures? What are some things that we should do to kind of mimic that stuff?
well, from what I've been told and seen in photographs, like I said, I've never been up there. I want to get up
Hmm.
there. They basically live on the ground. They live under leaf litter, rocks, upturned logs, all that kind of stuff. So you can. There's a couple of ways you can. I like to keep them bioactive, just because they suit that to a T. I mean, if you jump on my Instagram page, you can kind of see. I don't think I've got. I'm in the process of setting up some larger chameleon gecko enclosures at the moment. So if you kind of look at my leaf tail ones, they're pretty well similar. I've got some older pictures from years ago of how I used to keep them, but pretty much upright branches. Your no heat. Obviously, they're a heat intolerant gecko. But in saying that, they can. My room gets up to about 30 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is for you guys over there.
I think it's like
Fahrenheit.
in the 80s. I think.
80s, yeah, somewhere in the 80s. But it doesn't stay there long. So once it gets to about 30, I've got, we'll probably get into it a bit later, but my room set up with an air conditioner kind of turns on and just cools the room down.
Hmm.
Um, but basically, bioactive or naturalistic with a bit of high humidity is pretty much what they like. Leaf litter, ground cover. But that's the joys with these geckos is you can kind of make those enclosures like a centerpiece. Like, scrolling through
Yeah.
Instagram now, you see lots of awesome setups, and pretty much if you keep bioactive, you can pretty much keep these guys if they're not too hard. So yeah,
Yeah.
big.
For like a room temp gecko, that's pretty high. Like, because I was like just looking and seeing what 30 Celsius actually was. It's about 86 degrees. So I
Yeah,
mean, they could take.
I wouldn't recommend leaving them at 86
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
degrees. Pretty much. I'd say 28. It would be your main temperature. So that'd be
Okay.
probably 82 or something like that, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Low 80s.
Around
Yeah.
there, yeah, low 80s, and that'd probably be the higher end of it. But cool though, I'd get mine down to single digits Celsius just because I don't keep heating in the room. So over night time, my room can get down to like, depending on how cold it is outside, I can get down to like 8 degrees. And you still see these guys out cruising, hunting, eating, and everything else. So yeah, they can tolerate a tiny bit of heat, but yeah, like you're not going to keep a heat panel or a heat light. And if your room
Yeah.
gets over 30 and stays over 30 for like the whole day, yeah, definitely I would look at changing room or cooling the room down kind of thing for them. So, but they seem to not do very well with stress. I think that was probably one of the biggest things when they came into the hobby was stress. These guys, when I go into my room, they will freeze and they will not move until I have left the room. So, it's kind of, everyone's like, oh, why do you want to keep a gecko like that? Like, I just love them.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, they just look like I love the way they look. It's like
yeah,
half almost underwater or those the barking geckos.
underwater social
Yeah,
media.
yeah. Kind of looks. It's like half of that, and then half leaf tail kind of gecko.
Yeah,
With mask. Yeah, that's what it kind of reminds me of whenever
yeah.
I see them.
But no, it's awesome because you walk in and they'll freeze. I've got like a blue LED little strip light that I kind of set up across all the top of my enclosures just so when I go in at night, I can turn that on and I can still kind of watch them. If I stay still, they will start to move. Then I can just kind of watch their natural behaviour a little bit. The leaf tails, they'll just, run around and do their thing while I'm in there. But these guys will just literally freeze and just make out like I can't see them. But, it's pretty, it's just pretty interesting to watch. But they're actually, these guys, when they drop their tails actually squeak. I've
I
never
did
actually
hear
heard
that.
it, but
I did hear that though.
it's. I mean, I don't want to go pulling a tail off, but apparently, yeah, they actually make a squeak when the tail comes off. I'm not sure if the regenerated tail does it as well,
Oh,
but
okay,
yeah, I
okay.
think they're like one of the only species of gecko that actually makes an audible noise when they lose their tail.
Yeah.
So that's another
I'm guessing
interesting
that's just
little fact.
like a defense mechanism, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah. Just let the predator. Oh, what's that? Boom, that gecko's gone.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah. So it's like let's see. Or actually, let's kind of talking about their diet and stuff. What kind of stuff are you feeding them? Like, what kind of like what do they go crazy for?
I pretty much just feed crickets, and the only reason I feed crickets because my wife hates cockroaches, or woodies as we call them over here. She did recently allow, because my room's detached to the house, so I'm lucky
Oh,
in that
nice.
way because if I do get escapee crickets or woodies, they're not in the house. So she did let
Yeah.
me get a little colony of woodies going recently. The only thing I find with the woodies is the woodies are too quick for them. Like they're not a very fast hunter. So the way
Okay.
these guys will hunt crickets is if you've got upright branches in the tree, they will sit up about, they go up. So my enclosure is about 900 high. So they will go right up to the top, and then basically they'll just wait for a cricket to come. And they'll kind of walk down the branch, grab the cricket.
Oh, okay.
But with the woodies, our woodies are a little bit too fast. So if you don't put them in a bowl, they'll basically scatter and hide before
Yeah.
they get a chance to eat them. So I do offer woodies in a bowl, thanks to one of my mates. He suggested that I just put a bit of fluorine in the bowl and just chuck the woodies underneath because I wasn't feeding them woodies. I was just feeding them crickets. But yeah, so they'll sit up the top, hunt facing down, and then they'll come down and just basically eat the crickets as they go. So I pretty much predominantly feed crickets, but there's no reason why you couldn't feed them anything else. And I will give them pretty much every second feed. I will calcium dust the crickets because these guys, if you've ever seen them in the flesh, they're not a very meaty gecko. So I try to give them as much, and I also dust in like a multivitamin powder as well, pretty much every feed, just purely to try and keep, not that's, I mean, they don't lose weight, but just try and keep them robust, basically, because they're a very slender gecko. And basically, I've heard stories of from another breeder. She was saying she basically every feed would give them calcium powder because when they produce the eggs, they actually draw a lot of the calcium out of their bones,
Okay.
and they would get like what's MBD pretty easily or and stuff like that. So I've pretty
Okay.
much just followed that, and I've done that for the last 10 years and never had an issue with them. But yeah, pretty
How
much
are the
just crickets.
eggs? How are the
The
eggs? Are
eggs are
they
just
hard shell or are they
yeah. So
soft shell?
oh, they're soft shelled, like similar to your like your leaf tailed eggs. Like they're squishy, so you can squeeze them a little bit,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
they're not like they're not like your hard shelled eggs like some of your other species of gecko. But they will. What I do when I set up like a yeah, there's actually I think I've got a picture on my Instagram somewhere. I set up like a pot saucer, you know the saucers you put on the bottom of your pot.
Hmm.
So I get two of those and I bury one in the dirt, fill it with sphagnum moss, and then I cut a hole in the top of the lid, and then I bury the dirt over it, and then just place like a leaf over the hole so that they can see it. So inside the enclosure, you can't see the hide, so it still looks natural. But that way, when they bury the eggs, like, because if you just put like, they will generally bury the eggs where they hide. So
Yeah.
giving them that hide and then giving them that sphagnum moss, you basically give them the right conditions, and then it makes it easy to find the eggs. They'll just scratch the sphagnum moss to the side, lay the eggs, put the sphagnum moss back over it. Whereas if you kind of just put a saucer over the dirt, they're going to dig down into the dirt, bury the eggs. And I don't like to disturb them too much. I just like to basically leave them. I just keep them like you keep fish, basically.
Yeah.
Look good, feed them, and then that way I'm not disturbing them too much. So if they're out in bed at night, I'll just take the lid off, move the sphagnum off to the side, take the eggs out, set them up to the side, and then put the lid back down. Basically, minimal disturbance, and then, like I said, because that minimises that stress that I think is one of the main factors for these geckos. That I've got some now that have I bred them years ago, sold them to a mate. Then he got babies out of the ones I sold to him, and then I've gotten some of the babies from them back. So it's kind of gone full circle. So those ones seem to
Nice.
tolerate me a little bit more than some of the other ones. That they're just kind of older. Basically, if you kept them like I keep them, I think they don't tolerate people as much. But he might have been a little bit more hands-on than I was, so they seem to tolerate me being in there a little bit more. But
Yeah.
like if you turn your back on them, they'll sneak back into the enclosure when you're into the hide. Sorry, when you're in there. Um, but yeah, they're just unbeatable gecko, I reckon. So
Yeah. Definitely. So, all right. So for some breeding talk, right?
yep.
Um, so I'm guessing, do you cool them down? Like, do you put them through like a brumation or anything?
No, so I've set my room, when I originally got them, my room, I kept them inside the house. The room get a little bit warmer, but I basically just do ambient room temperature. So, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, it goes anywhere from about 30 down to, don't get me wrong, it has gotten up to, back when I used to keep them, my room did get up to, say, 34, but it was only for like an hour or so. But what I used to do then is I'd freeze some water bottles and just stick some water bottles in near them so they could cool down. But I essentially just use ambient temperature. So down in Sydney, where it gets a little bit cooler than it does up where they're from, so the room gets down to single digit degrees Celsius, 8
Okay.
degrees, and then during the day it'll get up to about max of 16 in the winter. And generally they will, once it starts to warm up in spring, that's when you'll see a little bit of copulation between the male and the female. But the male tends to grab the female's tail. I remember the first time I saw it, I was in the room and I heard this like growl. I'm like, what's going on here? And I turn around and the male's got a tail, and I'm freaking out, going, oh, don't drop the tail, don't drop the tail. But I'm thinking it was some type of, food response or something. But no, it was him basically trying to court her. So they'll
Okay, that's
mate
breeding
over.
behavior for them.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly right. So they'll mate over the spring. But the good thing is with these is you can see the eggs through their stomach. So once they're gravid, you can see
Oh,
the eggs
nice.
start to develop and grow. So you know basically they're gravid. And
Mm-hmm.
I've just got them set up. So laybox, like I said, the layboxes are there year round. The temperature swings um, are natural. In the room I've got set up now, kind of, I'm, I'm kind of making it a little bit more automated, just so because I've got kids, I work. You know,
Yeah.
I've got the Miss King system set up in every enclosure. I've also got the over here we call it we call it Grid Connect. They're like timable
Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
PowerPoints.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I've got everything set up on that. If the room gets too hot, the sensor goes off. If the room gets to 28, the sensor goes off, turns the misting system on, cools the room down a little bit. I've got fans, computer fans set up on the top of every enclosure as well. So I've
Nice.
got it set. The fans will run every second day just to kind of keep that airflow through the enclosure so it doesn't get too damp. But then I've also got it set for when a storm comes through. I've got like a little button I can press, and basically what it does, it'll turn the mister on. The fans will turn on, so it kind of like mimics that like storm cell coming through.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and does like that, and I can, and then when it gets too hot, once it gets to 30, I've got an air conditioner now that'll automatically turn on and cool the room down to 26 again. So pretty much I've got it automated in that regard, but I still go in, I still spray, I still do all that stuff because I think that the geckos can obviously sense the pressure change when a storm cell comes through, and you'll notice that your geckos are a lot more active, and
Oh
you'll
yeah.
also see a lot more copulation on those nights. So in
Yes.
summer, yeah, in summer we've got the
Yeah.
big storms that roll through, so generally you'll see it. But I pretty much don't interfere with them at all. I've just got my room set up now, the temperature, they're together, and my room doesn't get any high traffic as well. That's the other thing too. I think the high traffic. So if you were to have them in like your lounge room, I think you probably might struggle to breathe them a little bit just because that constant movement and them watching you is
Stressing them
stressing
out.
out.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in my room. I only go in there when I need to go in there, clean, feed, just to check them out, and this and that, maybe once a night. But other than that, I don't really do too much with them. I've just got them set up. I'm in the middle of doing like I said, two larger new enclosures for the chameleon geckos now. So I wanted to try and get them done before the breeding season, just so when I moved them in, I wasn't disturbing them too much. But pretty much as minimal as possible, and they just kind of do their thing every season. As long as you keep the food up, that's probably the main thing. I think with them as well, instead of feeding them lots of crickets less regularly, I tend to feed them fewer crickets every second to third day. So that way they've got that constant food supply there, just because, crickets might get out, crickets might die, rather than load them up every like 2 to 3 days, every 3 days or whatever. I just do a fewer crickets, a bit more regular. And that kind of just
Okay.
seems to
Yeah.
keep the weight on them that little bit better.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. I feed Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
Yeah.
and then like the weekend they get like a 2 day break, and then Monday again, boom, throwing the
Yeah.
crickets back on them.
Yeah, I slow it down a
So
bit in the
what's
winter, just because they tend
okay?
to not burn it off as much, and they
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
active, but they don't hunt as much, just because that temperature's a little bit lower. So I might stretch it out like 4 days, or do 3 days and then a 4 day between it, But in the summer, I'm
Okay.
like every 2 to 3 days, pretty much.
So what's the gestation on the geckos?
So these guys, like, because they're a cool temperate gecko, I incubate their eggs at room temperature. So that room temperature can range anywhere from 16 degrees at night. And like I said, sometimes it's gotten up to 30, but it's only been for a short period of time. I just do them in the cupboard in the house, in the linen cupboard. I've got like I don't now do them on my floor now in my room, but when I used to keep
Yeah.
them inside, I used to do it in the linen cupboard up the top because my wife's really short, so she couldn't get up the top, so there was nothing up there. So I used to put all the eggs up the top in the sphagnum moss. But depending on the temperature cycle, anywhere from like 90 days, I've had some go to 110 days.
Okay.
Um, but
So
anywhere
kind of like
between
that
that,
New Caledonian stuff.
yeah, exactly right. And I just keep them in sphagnum moss. So just moist sphagnum moss, squeeze the water out, lay it in a container, and just put the two eggs in there. Um,
Okay.
I've tried, I've tried the overwater method with them. I didn't have success with that. I don't know whether they were
Okay.
dud eggs or whether it was just the method. So I basically just stick to the sphagnum moss just because stick with
I
what
mean,
you
if it
know and
works,
it's
it
easy.
works. Right.
100%. And I'll open the eggs every like 30 days or something just to get a little bit of air exchange, and I'll won't play around with them too much, but I'll give them a candle probably after 30 days just to make sure they're good. Because when these guys lay their eggs, it's really hard to see the veins because obviously they lay them in these guys lay them in the sphagnum moss, but if you lay them in the dirt sticks to it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
when you first get the eggs, there's not many veins in it. Like, you know, if your carpet egg or anything like that, or even some of the other geckos, when they lay the egg and you candle it, you can see that red veins in the egg,
That
and
red
you know it's
cherry.
a fertile
Yeah.
egg. Yeah, exactly. These guys tend to, you can't really see that as easy. Sometimes I've had eggs that almost look like slugs, but I've just incubated it anyway. Come back 30 days and there's veins everywhere and everything start to grow. But then I've had some that have, you could kind of see it. So I basically, anything that's an egg, I just stick it in sphagnum moss and just let it go. And then if
Nice.
it's a dud, after a couple of days, it'll start to mold. I just take that one out, throw it away, and just leave the other egg next to it. But I only do them in pairs, basically. So the two eggs that come out, they'll stay together. I write on it the date that hatches and stick them off to the side just
Okay.
because it's,
Nice.
easier. And then I can keep track of dates that were hatched and, which
Yeah.
female they come from and everything else. And then that way I can kind of separate bloodlines and do all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that way I'm not, breeding like a brother to a sister and trying to keep the genes healthy as they go a bit further.
Oh,
So
for sure. Yeah. So, with the females, what is the so how many days? What was I about to say? Damn. How many days does a female take to lay their eggs? Like in
to
between. So after they lay the clutch, how long before they hit their second clutch?
to be honest, I don't know the exact dates. I've never checked, but they generally lay anywhere from about four clutches. I usually get about four clutches out of my females a year
Okay. All
of
right.
two
That's not
eggs.
bad.
So what's that? Probably 30 to 30, 40 days or something like that, I think. I probably should read
Right.
up on
I
that,
mean,
but yeah, I've
okay.
just
Yeah.
made, yeah, about that somewhere. But
Yeah. Because
I
I know
just,
like Chihuahuas are like 60 days. My Stropheras are like 21 to
they're,
30 days.
they're crazy, Stropherus, yeah.
They are ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
when my buddy told me that, he was like, yeah, they could drop them like in like 20 days. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
yeah,
Like, oh
it's
man,
crazy.
because like my first breeding season with the Intermetus, she
Yeah,
dropped. I mean, she dropped like 8 clutches.
yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
you've
holy
almost got
shit.
to like stop the food, stop giving them food, so they go, okay, I'm not getting food now, so
Yeah,
I'm going to stop laying
yeah,
eggs.
I separated my male already. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
you guys are done. Like she's getting the
yeah,
season off next year just because for her first season she did 8 clutches and all of them hatched. Um, and then this season I think she did 5 clutches. So I
yeah,
was like, yeah, you're gonna have a season off after this one. No, for a tiny little gecko like that big,
yeah,
no, she's popping them out. I was like, yeah,
yeah,
you need to chill.
yeah. But like,
So,
yeah, I'm really hopeless at keeping notes. Like, I've kept notes of how long that incubation took, but never how long between eggs. I probably should. I probably should do that this year actually, but yeah, it's I've never had to stop food and try and stop them producing eggs or pull the male out. I just leave them together all year, and I've pretty much generally just got four clutches every year. And then I've got some females that I might only get 2 to 3 clutches. But that's, it's probably, somewhere around 30 to 40, maybe even 60. Yeah, 60 days or something like that, 40 days or something. But I actually might write that down this year, so give me something else to do.
It's always good information.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably written in one of the books somewhere. I've got books and stuff that I could probably read and get it out of. But yeah, like, to be honest, I've never actually recorded it. So
Yeah. So for the babies, so how are you setting up your babies?
So I would just use the little 30-30 Exoterra cubes. I used to just have a whole bunch of those on a wall. I would set, what do you call it, peat moss on the ground, the cocoa husk, whatever you guys call it over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Yeah.
keep them on that. I would have, when they first come out, I would use like the little like toilet rolls as the hide. That way they can get real tight in there. And basically, I'd keep the two clutch mates together inside the enclosure and just have upright sticks. And I'd spray them probably every second to third day just to keep the substrate moist, because they obviously like that higher humidity. And then I just basically feed them small crickets. Pretty simple, really. I like to keep them simple because then that way I can monitor that they're eating the crickets. Because I think if you go too over the top with, say, plants and stuff like that, don't get me wrong, you could do it. But I just like to make sure that the crickets go in and the crickets are getting eaten, rather than crickets go in, they climb at the plants, and the geckos can't see them. It just, gives them that little bit better start of life, and just being able to monitor them that a little bit easier. At the moment, one of my mate, he actually builds all my enclosures. He does all the PVC enclosures. So I'm lucky he's kind of 20 minutes down the road, and his workshop's only 5 minutes down the road. So he builds all the PVC enclosures for me, and then my other mate does all the mock rock on my background. So
Nice.
I've just approached him. He's going to set me up like a bank of, I think they're about 45 cubes. And I'm basically just going to use those for my hatchlings and grow outs, for the leaf tails and for the chameleon geckos. So, but I'll actually put a Miss King in it as well, just to make it that little bit easier. Then once they get a bit bigger, I just go to the terracotta saucer pot and just cut a little hole out and just keep 2 of them upturned in there, and just keep the branches up. And that's pretty much how I just generally keep them up until they're a little bit larger, and then they go into a larger enclosure.
Okay. I was gonna say, when do you decide to separate them? Like,
so I'll get
a month or so.
Yeah, I usually wait about a month or two, and then I'll separate them and just keep them individually by themselves. And then that way, they're not fighting for crickets. They're not doing this, they're doing that. Or if I've got some mates, once I've started feeding, I might move some on to some mates. But generally about a month or two, I'll separate them. But they generally don't fight, so you can keep them together. Like, I've kept some together in the same enclosure and just up the enclosure up until they were a bit over a year old, and then separated, because I didn't want to. If they get big enough, they can breed after a year, but I would not recommend breeding them that quick. I recommend at least 2 years before you try and breed them. So I would separate males and females up until 2 years, keep the food into them, and let them get healthy, basically, because I think a year's a little bit too young to breed them. And there's something that's so kind of short and in demand still. You want to try and have strong, healthy babies out there, rather than just power feed them just to get them up to size. But I think it's probably a little bit detrimental to their health in the long run if you just pump them up to a year and get eggs out of them straight away. So, because I don't think they do that in the wild.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's just like saying, okay, you're a teenager and you're fully developed. Go ahead and do whatever you want to do, right? It's kind of the same thing. We always tell, hey, no, keep it in your pants. Wait until you're older. Same thing.
Yeah.
So, when can you tell that there's or when can you tell when they're either a male or female, or do you just
pretty
go
much
off of pores?
Yeah, it's hard there. I would say after, depending on how fast they grow, generally after 8 months, you can start to see the bulges on the male. And then once, after they're about a year, it's like, you can easily tell. And once they're adults, it's super easy to tell which one's a male, which one's a female. Because when they stand, they actually stand with their tail up in the air, so those bulges just stick
You
out for
see
the world to see. Like the old bloke when you go fishing and he's got nothing on, his nuts hanging out the side of his shorts.
right.
So,
That
but
sounds like the
yeah,
Pictus geckos because they. I just got some Pictus geckos in not too long ago, and
yeah,
those are always up. I'm like, dude, you just showing your balls. That's all you're
yeah,
doing.
yeah.
It's
But
the
like with
first
the
gecko I've ever seen do that. Like, just
yeah,
always
with
has
with the
a tail.
leaf tails, it's a bit easier to see as well because you can kind of see the bulges out the side, but they've got the little paws that hang on the side as well, so you can kind of see it a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
easier. But yeah, these guys after 8 months, and then you generally can't miss them after that. So around the 8 months, sometimes you might get the odd one where you're not sure whether it's male or female. But then, yeah,
Hmm.
after a year, it's super easy. So yeah, like I've kept males together, younger males, and never had fighting issues or anything like that. In saying that, though, I have had one female that no one male, sorry, that I had to end up separating him from the females because come breeding season, he would not leave the females alone.
Okay.
Basically, I'm pretty sure he ended up killing one of my females because he was just hassling her, just trying to mate with her, trying to mate with her.
Yeah.
So I basically ended up separating him, and he only ever goes in to the females and then comes out a couple of days later. Goes in, comes out. But that's the only one that I've ever had do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he was a good male too. Like you could put him over any female, and he would produce over that female. But yeah, just
Nice.
I had to separate him
So,
because it was a little bit too bad
are
there. So
you only doing like 1.1s, or do you try to do trios or like 1.2s, 1.3s, or anything like that?
I like to do 2.1s. I
Okay.
think that's weird. Is that two? No, hang on. Is that two males? How do you guys do it
Yeah,
over there?
two
Well, I just
male.
call it a trio. Yeah. Oh, sorry, two females, one male. So is that 1.2?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I like
1.2.
to
Yeah.
do yeah. I like to do it that way, just because then at the moment I've got two trios, two 1.2s, and a couple of younger ones. Just and then I like to keep them separate, and that way I can still manage to
Yeah.
get a nice amount of eggs out of them. And I like to keep them in a large, like a 900. I don't know what yours is inches. So no, I keep mine 900 mil wide. I don't know what that is in inches. I think that's like
Oh, yeah, I
the
don't know about that one.
36
Like
or
when
something.
you say
30,
centimeters, I can guess it.
90
I can
centimeters.
90 centimeters. Okay, so that's what 3 foot.
Uh,
Okay, that's about 3 foot.
Yeah, so I go 3 foot wide, 3 foot high by I think it's
Holy shit.
2 foot deep. Yeah, 2 foot deep. I
Okay,
think it's. Oh yeah, 60
that's pretty
centimeters.
big.
Is it 2 feet? Yeah. So I keep a trio in that. Um,
Okay.
but basically, like the exoterras, the ones
Hmm.
that come out. You can go 60 high if you want, but I just like that larger enclosure. That's just personal
Yeah.
preference, really.
Yeah.
But you can. I've kept them in the 90, which is your 3 foot exoterra wide by your
Yeah.
2 foot high. I've kept them in that, bred them in
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, they will use the height. If you give them 90 centimeters, they'll go right up to the top. But these
Nice.
these are the new ones I'm doing, so they're just a little bit larger. But I've got a mate up in Queensland. He does a cohab with some chameleon geckos and some cornutus.
Oh,
So
okay. Nice.
I want to do one with a pair of chameleon geckos and a pair of cornutus in there as well. Just
Oh,
to have
that's
that
really cool.
that little cohab one. But I've got yeah. So I've got another one at the moment with some Wyberba leaf tails and some granite belt tails because they're
Okay.
from the same region. So I've got that little mixed cohab species going on in that, and they're
Nice.
thriving. So
Nice. Oh, I
yeah,
like hearing stuff like that right there. So with the chameleon geckos, are you? Because I know there's no morphs, right?
no,
But is there
no,
any traits that you're trying to produce out of those?
not really at the moment. They're like I said, they're so rare, and There's nothing that's visually different about them. I
Hmm.
think at the moment that most of the guys I talk to, they just want to get some numbers out there so more people can have them. I'm
Okay.
sure over time, once more people do that, there might be things that pop up, but I'm not really. I do like some of the Stropharis that I've got one of my good mates, Rick. He's a really big Stropharis breeder here, and
Yeah.
like some of the stuff he's working on now with the Ciliaris and the Aberrans, he's getting this real high orange Aberrans and high black Aberrans as well. So he's worked with those, but with these guys, there's not really anything. I just basically keep them because I want to try and get some numbers out and just
Yeah,
because
okay.
they're unreal. Them
I
and the
would.
leaf tails.
Yeah.
So
I would think someone maybe is like, man, I'm trying to get that black mass saturated black type of thing going on or something.
I'm sure there would be, but I just don't. There's probably not enough,
It's not a lot.
and
Yeah,
enough
yeah,
people keeping them. So if you had one like that, you probably wouldn't. You'd notice it, but I think it'd be hard to breed for at the moment because, like, it's just hard trying to find
yeah,
any, and any that you like. My inbox is flooded every year. I lay like if I ever post a picture of eggs, I've been a bit slow on Instagram recently. It's been busy with work and stuff, but yeah, like the amount of people that message me about for hatchies. A lot of actually, I probably get more messages from people in the US, to be honest, about hatchies.
Can
I'm
you
just like,
can you
nah,
please
sorry.
ship it in
Yeah,
something?
they're like, oh,
Just
are you going to
send
be
it over.
available? I'm
Don't
like,
care what you
yeah.
put it in.
Yeah, I'm like, nah, sorry, mate, I'm in Australia. And then, okay, and then that's pretty much the end of it. That's the first thing I say because you can kind of tell where the page is from. I was like, oh, sorry, mate, I'm in Australia. And that's
Yeah.
kind of the end of the conversation. But yeah, over here, there's just, yeah, like I said, I only know about 5 other people that have got them.
Hmm.
Like I said, there may be more, but yeah, it's probably maybe once there's a few more kicking around, there might be something that might that'll pop up. But
Yeah.
when they hatch, they're like this beautiful purple color. So
Oh,
they're like
really?
this,
Yeah.
yeah, they're like their bodies are this beautiful purple color, and they've got those big black eyes, but the tail almost looks like velvet. So it's like this
Hmm.
black and white velvety looking tail. And as they grow, they kind of develop like that purple kind of goes away, and they get this little like brown dorsal stripe with spots all over it. So you could probably do something with a dorsal stripe, but yeah, I just think there's just not enough numbers to try and work on anything like that at the moment. So,
And that's
but
crazy because you're in Australia and you're like, well, there's not enough numbers for these geckos. That's
no,
crazy
not at
right
all.
there.
Not at all. Because we see over here, we're not allowed to take from like we're not allowed to take anything from the wild.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Basically, the only way that wild stuff, can come in is basically in. Sorry, don't. I got that wrong. Some states that you are allowed to take from the wild, like I think WA, they've got a permit where you can get a catch permit, so you're allowed to go and catch things from the wild
Okay.
and bring them in. But obviously, these guys are in Queensland. There's no permit that I know of in Queensland unless you're a zoo or a university doing study. That's the only time you're allowed to do anything with wild specimens. So I don't think, yeah, there's no like new blood, there's no nothing else coming in. So what we've got, we've got. But
Hey,
don't get me wrong, I imagine that there's, you know, I've bought leaf tails and
oh yeah.
basically, it comes, it's got, someone says the captive bred and it rocks up, it's got mites on it. So they've obviously just grabbed it off a tree and sold it, and it's like, it's
Yeah.
a kick in the guts because they die pretty well straight away because, they've just been pulled off a tree, shoved on a plane and then sent to another state. And here you are thinking you're getting a captive bred healthy gecko and it rocks up skinny. It's probably full of parasites and it's got mites on it, and then it just doesn't last. So they're probably, I mean, they probably have come in like that, but with the people that are working with them, are just so low numbers that there's nothing there. But I think, like I said before, I think there's more in the US than there is in Australia,
That's
even in
wild.
Europe and stuff. So. But yeah, and I think because you guys can you guys buy stuff from different countries now for Australian stuff if it's on CITES or something like that?
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah,
I've known people that, well, usually what they try to do is go through Canada with this
yeah,
with that stuff. So if it's in Europe, it'll go to Canada,
and then
and
come in.
yeah,
Yeah,
some people have done it. I know a couple people have gotten like the aberrants that way.
yeah,
Because I was like, how'd you guys even get this stuff? But yeah, it's
yeah,
like like a 6-9 month process because you gotta all that paperwork has to go get approved. So
yeah,
sometimes it just doesn't even happen. Then that person has to sell your gecko in Canada, and hopefully you can recoup that money.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, it's a shame, really. Like, because that's the other thing is like poaching. So it happens all the time, and more cars and cats kill native wildlife here in Australia
oh yeah,
than
I think
anything
that's
else. Like
everywhere.
you drive on a road. Like I'm on a big construction site here at the moment, and we've got a snake relocator here every second day, moving pythons and brown snakes and red bellies. But you go out in the bush at night time and there's cats everywhere. You drive
Oh
on a
yeah,
road and you're guaranteed to see a squash lizard and a squash this and that. But it's kind of
oh
a
yeah,
shame, really. Like I think they could manage it really well over here with a permitting system of, like they do in WA, have a limited number of, permits that they get out and limited number of people who are actually allowed to go and, take take from the wild and do it
Yeah,
properly. Like monitor it properly,
definitely.
do it properly, and limit the numbers. And basically, things like carpet pythons and that don't need that because there's enough of those in captivity. But some of those, rarer species of gecko that are abundant in the wild, um, you know, do it properly,
Oh
do
yeah,
it right, and monitor it,
yeah.
and
You
then
could do it like what was it Madagascar, right? They have
yeah,
a like for because like most of the Eurypletus are on CITES,
yeah,
but you have a collection quota. I'm sure they could probably do the same thing. It just takes the government to be
yeah,
like,
that's
oh,
right.
let's it's just the government. You got to wait for
That's
them to
exactly
do that
right.
stuff. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
And if they did
if
it
it
and they
happens,
managed it
I doubt
properly,
it.
yeah.
But
And I think the
I
same with
wish it would
export
happen.
too. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that if they did it the same with export, like we don't need to. Don't get me wrong, we don't need to import anything to Australia. But if they opened up export to other
Oof,
countries
good lord.
and monitored it properly and did it properly, the government would make money on it,
They would make
and
so much money. It is
it would
ridiculous.
not just that. I almost think that it would almost eliminate poaching.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
It
if
definitely
you
would.
know, for some of the rarer things, no, because obviously if it's not in captivity, someone's going to do the dodgy thing and take it and then sell it. But some of the other species that are pretty held in high numbers in captivity, like your rough scale pythons, like those over here in New South Wales, they're on the advanced license. If you guys over there, they were, because I listen to NPR, I've got a podcast as well with one of my mates that were on the NPR network.
I listen to that one
Um,
too. Yeah,
yeah, and
I love that.
like it's like you guys were struggling to get roughies over here. You struggle to sell roughies because they're on that higher license, and they're so easy to not easy to breed, but like there's so vast numbers of them. But if they had that export open, that would essentially stop the illegal traffic because people aren't going to shove them into bottles and socks and everything else.
Oh yeah.
Do it properly, send it properly, pay the appropriate fees, pay the appropriate license, and then those animals are going to get over healthy. They're going to arrive healthy, and after time, give it a couple of years, and the need for it's going to slow down anyway. So
Hmm.
you're going to stop the wildlife poaching, and you're going to stop that, things dying, getting shipped over, and then it's eventually going to slow down. So you guys will have all that stuff there. So, but
Yeah.
it'll probably never happen. So it's one of those things that, yeah,
Yeah, it's not going to happen in our lifetime, but hopefully
no,
one day it will happen.
yeah,
That's
exactly,
all we can
exactly.
hope for. Um, so let me ask you some. Is there any with these geckos? Do you have any kind of? Have you noticed any kind of health issues, concerns, or like over supplementing? Because I know, like with like cat geckos, right? You can't give them a whole lot of supplements because
Yep.
they'll crash. Like if you give them calcium 3 times in a month, it's like
Yeah,
almost over with them. They have to do it like once a month or something like that. So do they have any kind of similarities to those kind of species?
not really. Like I said, I kind of dust mine with calcium pretty regularly. Just purely on from the person that I got my first female. I've said that they can draw the calcium out of their bones and that. So
Hmm.
I've never noticed anything like that. I think the biggest thing with these guys is heat and stress.
Okay.
They're kind of like over here we class them as an advanced species, but I think if you're like a person who does studies up on the reptile you're going to get, I don't think they're an advanced species. If you can provide them the cool temperature and the right microclimate, the moisture, the humidity, I think they'll thrive in general. And you just give them that privacy they need. But that's probably the main thing is stress, and yeah, just make sure you keep up that calcium because you don't want, when they become gravid, you don't want that. I don't know if it's true or not. That's just what I've got told. It's what I've always done. But yeah, other than that, not really. I haven't really noticed anything, you know. But like I said, if I imagine it's one of those things, if they're kept in a larger number by a larger group of people, some of those things would become more prevalent, and you would probably see some of those things arise. But I just think because of the smaller numbers, there's not really that many things to look out for. Um,
Okay.
and they're not really going to overfeed. I've never really seen one of these, you know, overfed like you see some of the blue tongues that people keep and stuff like that. Like,
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you look at a lot of our stuff, like the crescent geckos are
yeah,
like just crazy obese. Like they
yeah,
got rolls on rolls on rolls. I was like,
yeah,
you probably need to back off the food. Like, well, it's
yeah,
not even really backing off the food. It's back off that diet
yeah,
and give them some protein instead
yeah,
of giving them some liquid diabetes. Pretty much.
yeah.
It's all sugar. That's all it is, really.
Yeah, and like, and even like, because I don't keep them on UV or anything like that.
Okay.
All the only light I've got on them is a plant light. Because, like I said, I've got the
Okay.
bioactive setup, so I've just got a light in there for plant and just to give them that day-night cycle. But they're never out during the day. So as soon as that, you'll watch them, because I've got a camera set up as well, so I can kind of like watch all the things just remotely. Like I can turn the camera around and see all the different enclosures. And you'll see them just before they know the cycle. As soon as that light's going to start to come up, they'll climb down off their branches, go into their hide, then probably 10, 15 minutes later, the light will come on. And then as the light goes off, literally 10, 15 minutes later, you see them poke their head out of the hide and then they'll cruise out for the night. So they pretty much never come out during the day. But I mean, if you want to give them UV, you can. There's probably benefits to it. It'd be interesting to see if they did ask, but where they're from, they're
I
only
mean,
going to
they
get
might
that.
do some cryptic basking or something.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly. They might just put their head out or something like that. But where they're from, they're in that rainforest, so they're only getting that dappled light anyway. So there might be that little pocket of sun that comes through, and they might bask in it. But yeah, I don't give it to them, but that's just personal preference. There's no reason why you couldn't. So
oh yeah, definitely. So do you have any? So we're close to coming up to the end. What kind of do you have any good resources as far as like books,
yeah,
Facebook
there's
groups, whatever websites? Do you have any good information for people to go ahead and do more research on their own?
for these guys. I think if you jump on, there's not really too many Facebook groups for them. There's none actually. There is a leaftail Facebook page on a rainforest leaftail Facebook page. You might see the odd post here and there,
Mhm.
but there's Facebook groups not really. Maybe if you just find someone that keeps them and just jump on their Instagram, and if you want to shoot someone a message, that's probably the best way. There's it's a book. There's a couple of Australian gecko books. They're in a few of those. Some of them are out of print now. There's this big one. It's a big lizard book. That thing is out of print. I think that goes anywhere for like 900 Australian dollars now. There's a chapter
Damn.
in
What
there.
book is that?
It's a Danny Brown. I think it's a guide to lizards of Australia or something like that. It's a big thick
Oh,
book. So
okay.
he does
Yeah, because
the
I got the Australian geckos and pygopods one.
yes. They're not in the first one of that. I don't know if he added them into the. He's just re-released it.
Oh, really?
I don't know if he's added them in. I've got it because I collect the books as well. I've got
Nice.
it, but I haven't read the book, so I've just bought it
Okay.
and it just sits on the shelf.
I think a lot of us do that. So
Yeah,
we're
I've got
just
a
book collectors.
my book collection's worse than my reptile collection. So thanks to and Scott and Ty Arthur have just made that so worse because they distribute the what are they called? They're one of the distributors for one of the books. I can't remember what they're called
Okay,
now.
yeah. You talking about Sky and Ty Iper?
Yeah. So I've just
Nice.
Ty rings me. Oh, I've got this book, and this book, and I'm like, I'll take them all. And then she's like, how much? She's like, I'll tell you later. And then I get it, and I just give her the money. So that's probably worse than my reptile collection, to my book collection.
But
But
that'll
that's
keep you
another.
safe too, though, right? Because
Yeah,
you can
not for
read
the
that, you
misses,
can
not
read
for the
about those
misses.
reptiles and be like, all right, cool, I read about it, I don't need it.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
it could help
Exactly.
you out.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, that gecko book and Rob Porter, he was one of the original guys that had kept these in Queensland. I think, I don't know how. Yeah, he had a really good website, Live Foods Unlimited, I think it was, and he had like a little page on his website. I don't know if that website's still active, but that was a good. I think he actually wrote the chapter in that gecko book for them as well. But other than that, there's not a lot of information out there on them. It's probably best just to talk to someone that keeps them. That's pretty much what I did when I got mine. Spoke to the guy I got them off, and then spoke to the other breeder, and just kind of kept them like I'd kept leaf tails because I knew they were from the same area, and that's pretty much how it's worked for me. That's probably the other thing you could do too is if you buy that gecko book, that Australian Geckos and Pygopods book, and just kind of mimic what it tells you how to keep Australian leaf tails, that is pretty much essentially how these guys are kept as well. It's pretty
Okay.
much identical, so I keep them identical. The only thing I change is the thickness of the branch. That's pretty much it. But these guys will use thick branches, but They'll also use skinny twig branches as well.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the only information. There might be the odd care sheet here and there online. I've never really looked for any, but yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
pretty
I've
much
never.
it really. So, but other than that, yeah, I don't think, like I said, I don't think they're a super hard gecko to keep as long as you give them the parameters that they need. I think they'll thrive, and I think a lot of people get enjoyment out of them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Like I said, like you said, no, you don't need to hold them. You just kind of take it from that fish keeping
yeah,
aspect of
yeah.
no, like because I got cave geckos. I don't touch them. I
See, I'd love to
got
keep cave geckos too, but we have
yeah,
a cave
I
gecko over here, but it's different than your cave gecko.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I just got these ones too. I
yeah,
literally just got them. I won it on an auction on Morph Market,
yeah.
and the person was like, "Hey, I got a female for it too." I was like, "Throw it in a box.
Yeah,
You already know I gotta
yeah,
get two. I can't just do one."
yeah. I'm the
So
same. I'm the same.
yeah. So, but yeah, they're pretty cool. Like I said, I don't mess with them like that. Like I don't have to hold my geckos. I'm not that kind of person.
No,
Like
neither.
so let them do their gecko stuff. I want to
Yeah,
see their behavior, how they act with me not being involved so much.
yeah,
Um, I said I got these Haemophilus fasciatas, these Tanzanian velvet geckos,
yeah,
and all they do are hide. They hide all
yeah,
damn day, all night. They don't come out until it's completely pitch black.
yeah,
So I have to get like my little night vision stuff and be looking by, all right, what are y'all doing? Because they're so small, and I got them like it's like a 16-inch would be like a 45
yeah,
centimeters,
yeah,
right? And but they're only like this big, so
yeah,
trying to find them in that is like god damn, you
yeah.
know. But
I keep
they're ready to
these.
breed, so I'm just waiting for them to drop me some eggs.
Yeah, I keep these little skinks called prickly forest skinks, and they're the
Oh,
same. They're
nice.
probably like 2 inches long, and they
Yeah,
live in the same environment as pretty much. I think they're from the same area as the chameleon geckos, and I physically have to every couple of months just tear the whole enclosure apart just to find them to
yeah,
make sure they're still alive because they're a
yeah.
great
I
looking
think
gecko. They
that's
look
gonna
like a little
happen.
dragon, but yeah, they just hide.
Yeah,
So
that's going to end up happening with them because I'm like, all right, I'm about to redo you guys' enclosure so I can keep an eye on you guys a little bit better. Just
yeah,
and plus, I want to see where you guys are chilling at most of the time. So if
yeah,
you're going to be laying right there, I need to have access to it, and so I don't get bit.
yeah.
But
Because I wanted to do a cohab with the chameleon geckos and these little skinks, but I think the skinks might piss the geckos off during the day, being in such a smaller area. Because the geckos sleep during the day, and these skinks would just be running around in the hide and doing everything else. So I decided not to do that one. But that's why I
yeah,
think the two geckos, the cornutus and the chameleon geckos, will work good together. So
yeah, and the chameleon, like you said, the chameleon, they're both nocturnal, right?
yes,
Um,
yeah, they are. Yep.
is there any diurnal geckos in Australia?
Yeah, there's a couple. So some of our geckos, like your Strophaurus, they'll bask, on a twig
Yeah.
out in the middle of the day. Some of the rough knobtail geckos, like I've got some asper, and they're always out during the day.
Oh,
Like
really?
they'll hide, but they're always out. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there's any. Most of them are nocturnal. Most of our geckos, but that's not to say they won't bask and do other things. But
Yeah.
yeah, most of the geckos, off the top of my head, I can't think of any. There's probably one, and then someone will say, "Oh, there is some," but yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
there probably
I was
is
just
some.
thinking
So
like towards like having a diurnal species and having a
yeah,
nocturnal species, so they
not
don't really
really.
cross
No,
whole paths and stuff like.
no,
Okay,
no. No, we don't. Man, most of our lizards are diurnal, but you don't want to go keeping the lizards and the geckos together. You could probably do it with. You could do it with some of the larger leaf tails and angle-headed dragons because the leaf tails are a
okay,
little bit larger, so you can keep those guys together. But yeah, most of our lizards would probably chomp on you geckos if you kept them together.
oh yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. So for people that want to like, so newcomers that are like, look, I want to get a chameleon gecko. Uh, do you have like three good points to help them along that way of keeping those geckos?
yeah. Basically, I would say humidity. Like you keep decent humidity and low heat, and I'd say like ample amounts of vertical perching and hides, pretty much. And you can't really go wrong if you just follow that bioactive. If you like bioactive, these guys will slide right into there. Um,
Okay, nice.
that's pretty much it, really. And just don't annoy them, pretty much. But
Oh
unless if you
man,
can find them.
they're introverts.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, they're they're a great species to keep, and I'd like more people to have them and work with them pretty much. So hopefully in the near
Nice.
future, a couple of us can get a couple of numbers out and get some
Yeah,
out. So
definitely. What was it? Okay, so for my closing question right here, what have been your biggest failures in this hobby, and what you learn? What have you learned from? It can be with Carphodaclys, or it can be with anything.
anything, biggest failures. I think the biggest things probably, no, actually, the biggest failures. Like I've lost geckos. Actually, one of the biggest failures I had was I before I moved all my geckos on, I had a whole bunch of geckos. Some of the like I had cave geckos, I had chameleon geckos, leaf tails. I actually got a bad batch of crickets one day. Don't know what it was. I fed all the animals. 3 days later, I come in and I lost like 7 geckos.
Mm.
I lost a cave gecko, a ringtail gecko, and a couple of other ones. But cut it open and there was like the cricket had like almost rotted inside. I don't know what it was, but basically, yeah, I'd lost a whole bunch of geckos, and the only thing I could put it down to was the food. I'd never lost. It wasn't temperature related because it wasn't in the middle of summer or anything like that. So I've had temperature spikes as well and lost a couple of geckos here and there, but nothing to this magnitude. But pretty much, I'd say just if I there was a shortage of crickets then, so I changed cricket suppliers because we had a massive cricket
Okay.
shortage in Australia. So I changed cricket suppliers, got a couple of batches and then they were good, and then I got one batch and then I lost like seven. I think it was seven geckos. Um,
Damn.
and that was some not high dollar animals. The dollar value doesn't matter, but the rarity
I
kind of
was
thing
you
does
just
as
lost
well.
seven
Yeah,
geckos,
exactly.
which I mean, it still hurts you right there. Like, damn, what
Yeah,
the hell? Because then
yeah,
you're questioning yourself if you did something wrong. You're
that's
like,
right.
no, no. You're like, no, it was these damn crickets.
Yeah.
Uh, what did
So
you reach out to the supplier? But hey, what's going on with your crickets? Let him know. But hey,
no, so like I said at that time, they were just I don't want to name like who it was or anything, but
yeah, yeah.
they was there was just a shortage. So I don't know whether it might have been something they fed them, or it might have been
Mm-hmm.
could have been anything, or like because I don't pest spray my house or anything like that, so I knew it wasn't anything like that.
Yeah.
They were in their own room, but literally I just changed once the kind of shortage came back to normal. I just went back to my old cricket supplier, and I've used that same cricket supplier for most, probably the last 7 or 8 years. But it was just that one time where there was a shortage, and I changed suppliers and this and that. So probably takeaway from that is just make sure you feed your feeder insects a good diet, clean, healthy diet, and just
Yeah.
monitor the food that they eat, and make sure you keep them in a good spot away from any pesticides or anything like that, just in case.
Oh
So,
yeah, definitely.
because it's important what you feed your feeder insects is just as important as what your animals eat. So,
Oh yeah, I tell you, my geckos or my feeders eat better than me. So,
yeah,
well, they eat healthier than me. That's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, same here. So, yeah, that's
So
probably it, really.
yeah. So where can everybody find you?
Instagram and Facebook at the Gecko Effect. We've also got a podcast as well, the Australian Herpetoculture Podcast. We haven't done one for probably over a year. Luke's busy, I'm busy. Luke's got a kid, I've
Yeah.
got 2 kids, work, this and that. We talk about doing one here and there. So, it's just a little bit hard. So, yeah, probably reach out there or Instagram, my main Instagram pretty much. But I've been a bit quiet on there as well. I've got a few new enclosures that'll probably pop up there pretty soon.
Nice.
Because I'm in the process of redoing my whole room. So
Oh, nice.
basically everything's the enclosures see on there. That's going to be my whole room is enclosures like that. So pretty much Instagram, Facebook. Shoot me a message if you want to ask questions, but I know a little bit about them. I don't know everything about them, so if I can guide you in the right direction, I'll do that. So
Right.
yeah,
Nice. Yeah, definitely. You guys check out the or the Australian Herpetoculture podcast. Uh, the, I listened to the Leaf Tail one and the Stropheus one. That one stays in my downloads.
yep,
I listen to them probably like once a week.
yeah,
Uh,
yep,
no, I like getting my refreshers and hearing something new every time when I listen to them.
yep.
But like I said, you guys' podcast is really good. I love hearing it. I love getting all this great information about. I mean, even the stuff that we can't keep. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's,
Yeah,
it's
because
just
I listen to
good,
your guys'
good to
podcast all
listen
the
to.
time too. So You know, like
Yeah.
a gecko podcasts are just so slim. Like there's not many gecko. There's all like snake podcasts and
Yeah. Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
else. But once I found your guys' podcast, and that was kind of after we'd stopped podcasting, I was like, oh, it's good to listen to a podcast rather than being a podcast. So I listen to your guys'
Yeah. Right.
podcast every week. So, and same with me. Like we can't keep half the stuff you guys talk about, but I just enjoy listening to it. So
Yeah, yeah, that's what we're here for.
yeah,
Just put out some information about all these different geckos because I always tell people like, look, there's more than just crescent geckos in this world. There's more than
yeah,
just New Caledonia stuff in this world. Go ahead and try to explore it.
yeah, that's right.
There might be something that might still fit those parameters of those those cresties, leashies, and chihuahuas, uh, but they just look awesome. They look totally different. They're just just it's just something that's a little bit more unique than what you currently have, but it
Yeah,
still
that's right.
fits your parameters, right?
Yeah,
That's why I when I tell people like, all right, New Caledonia, go ahead and take that trip to Madagascar,
yeah,
or take that trip to Australia, get those Australian leaf tails because
yeah,
they'll fit your parameters perfectly, and
yeah,
they're just a ridiculously, especially those was it Saltorius salabrosus? Yeah, those things are wickedly and they're huge
yeah,
and like damn, they're alien like.
yeah. And
So
the
it's like
cornutus are a little bit longer, but their tails aren't as big. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I don't even know. I mean, there's a couple people that have cornelius here. I think not
yeah,
a lot, and
yeah,
those things are ridiculously expensive.
yeah. They come in waves here. So like I've kept them for years, and like I said, I moved everything on, which was I should have done it. I regret doing it. It's because it's hard to find everything again. But they kind
Oh
of come in
yeah,
waves. They get like popular, and heaps of people have got them, and then they, not so many people have them again, and then everyone's got them again, and this and that. But I think one of the biggest things, though, as to your question before, is listen to everyone, because even a new keeper can have an idea that you've never thought of before in your life, and it
oh
can
yeah, for
make what
sure.
you do easier, or it might have just been something you've never even thought of because it's so simple and basic. So
Yeah, like open them eyes. Don't
exactly,
have blinders on. Explore everything. Take everybody's stuff with a grain of salt.
yeah,
I mean, especially like the younger generation because
exactly,
they want to be so efficient with it,
yeah,
and there might be something that a trick that they've done that you haven't done yet,
yeah,
and you're like, oh, okay, that would work.
yeah,
Right
exactly,
now, I'm talking to like a buddy of mine because he has a grow tent that he puts
yep,
all his Eurypletus in because he lives
yes,
in California. He's dry, so
yeah,
he's like does this, and it has the humidifier, AC in there, and it works well. He does it in his garage,
yeah,
so I know that garage gets pretty warm. So he's doing that and keeping it cool. So I was like, okay, those are
mm,
little things like that helps the hobby.
yeah,
Helps it.
that's right. And I think the other thing is too is books. Buy books, read books.
Yes.
Like I said, and like I said before, Scott and Ty, they just brought out an awesome new book about Australian snakes. Buy a book,
Yeah.
read the book, and it's that information. You won't lose that information because it's in the book.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
you go put a post on a Facebook group, go back the next day, and that post you can't even find the post anymore. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
good
Yeah.
literature is, it helps. Like you can always refer back to that, and same with podcasts too. Like you said, if there's a podcast about something, save that podcast, download that podcast, and go back and
Yeah.
listen to that podcast. If, like you said, you might pick up something every time you listen to it, and then even just messaging people, just chat to people, message people. But I just think books, you can't go wrong
Communication.
with a good book too. So,
Yeah.
but then you got on a
Yeah.
super
Because,
stove and stuck
like
back
you
to the
said,
books.
that literature is forever. All you can
Yeah,
do is just add on to it. Right.
exactly right.
Like
Exactly right.
that's what I do. Because I've had like I said, I have that Danny Brown one, the
Yep,
Australian geckos and picopods, and all I've done is add on to it, saying,
that's
all right,
right.
cool. This is like what they like. But I had Williams eye before,
Yep,
Strophia's Williams eye. So it was like, all right, people are telling me 12 by 12 by 18. I was like, no, I don't like that. Like, because I had a female that took a fall from a
yep,
12 by 12 by 18, and she's dead.
yeah,
Well,
yep,
she didn't die from impact. She had like head damage.
yep,
So for a long time, she was just upside down. She wouldn't eat. So and she ended up passing away. So my notes is no 12 by 12 by 18s. We're gonna do a 12 by 12 by 12 for those
yep,
instead. So
yeah,
little things like that help out.
yeah. And like you said, you can always add on to it. You've got that. You've basically got the foundation. You've got that foundation. You can expand on that foundation and tweak it to suit your room, tweak it to suit the way you keep. But at the end of the day, the main thing is, as long as the animals are healthy and looked after,
Yes.
that's pretty much the main
Right.
thing. And there's a million different ways to skin a cat. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, Jason. It was a pleasure having you on, man.
Thanks for
Like I
having me on.
said, oh, definitely, man. Like, just getting someone's perspectives, especially from Australia, like getting
Yeah.
those perspectives and helping people out over here, is like it's going to do wonders.
Yep.
And I got you down for that round table.
Yep,
So
perfect.
for the Strophares, so
Yep.
be ready for that one. Definitely, and I'll talk to you later. So,
Done.
but do stay on after this real quick so we can
Yep.
talk some other stuff. And let me stop. Well, before we do that, everybody have a great night, day, morning, wherever you're at. Just have a good one. Peace out.
Thanks.
Yo, creeping in the dark, life nocturnal, dark and dark, both paths arboreal to terrestrial. Sticky toes gripping forest students that explore. Listen close, Gecko podcast, that's knowledge galore. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile game changing. Escaping heat waves, tan under rays, desert sand echoes, sun blazing days. Little hustlers, camouflage a maze, catch them speaking wisdom, the wild on replay. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile game changing. Sculling through the leaves, shadows unseen. Master of the skies, chameleon dream. Blizzard tails flip, strip getting clean. Gecko exchange, true reptile fiends. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile game changing.